the 5th annual Robert P. Collen Poetry Competition. We're going to kick off the evening by having Jen come up and say just a few words.
Oh, that was quick. All right. So my dad, as most of you know, was Robert P. Collen. And I just want to say how grateful we are to the Friends of the Orange Public Libraries, to Jessica, to the library here, to all of you for coming and participating in this contest. It means so much to us as a family that he's remembered in this way. And I'd just like to read you a quote from Thoreau. On the death of a friend, we should consider that the fates through confidence have devolved on us the task of a double living, that we have henceforth to fulfill the promise of our friend's life also in our own into the world. And that's what you're doing tonight for us. And it's a personal thing for us. So even though, you know, poetry is being praised here and honored, and your work is important, it's important to us as our family remembers my dad. So thank you so much, and thanks to everyone.
Now we're going to have Marcia come up, talk about Bob a little bit, and read us The River. It's become a tradition for the poetry competition.
Hello, everyone. It is a ritual here to read The Town and the River, and this year we're going to add a little something to the ritual, which is a poem that Bob wrote in 1951 and received a first prize for in a very prestigious contest. The runner-up was from Harvard. And Bob was a senior at Tufts, which happens also to be my alma mater. And this photo that you've been seeing both at the refreshment table and here shows the competitors in the poetry contest. And Bob, young Bob, 22 years old, is right there, and you wouldn't miss him. He aged.
Tall man.
He was a tall man. He aged very well, and you would know him. Yes.
How did he die?
Yes, he was very ill.
He was very sick in the hospital.
He was sick in the hospital. He was ill.
When was he sick?
4 or 5 years ago? 5 years ago.
No,
Four.
What type of
Exactly 4 years
I'm not
ago.
sure. I'm sorry, I don't know.
September.
I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I don't know that. And the information was discovered by Christine O'Connor, Jim O'Connor's daughter, Jim, and I'm sorry, I haven't got her mother's name at the tip of my tongue. But his daughter, and she's a teacher in Hingham and involved in a project that has her researching American veterans of the First World War. And she asked her dad if there was any connection with any local veterans, and he knew the Collens. And so she's found out a lot about Uncle Oscar Collen, who was fighting in France in the First War, and I believe buried there.
Yeah.
So here is the first poem, and then there's the longer second poem, The Town and the River. But the first poem is called, excuse me, The Cure, the prize-winning poem, The Cure. This, if you care to look, is the scene. A warm May morning rising around 2 bronze bodies on a circular stone, the soldier and the child. Michelangelo's bodies would have rippled in such light. You see it as an unskilled affair. No grace, the feet too big. It could never get up to march or dance. It doesn't matter. The smaller figure has charm if you see yourself there, your son, or somebody's child. Flowers shining like burnished steel in wide sunlight over the river. Tubes of water running silver from leaves splashing dark-eyed shade on the cinder path. sparrows jittering like nervous minutes in a broken clock, sun-fast autos purring on tan concrete, an old man dozing on the park bench, May morning in the common. The scene is for memory, the association of memorials, of years growing like poppies around the base, tendril and granite, the wreath and stone for the irrevocably dead. Memory translates time and distance, the seas green and blue dividing, but not as painfully as the years, where symmetry is of crosses, the monotony of geometry for dedication, shadows spilled from grave to grass, grass greener than the season naturally allows. No mourners, only an old caretaker, a Frenchman who winds his watch, wistfully counting his hours before lunch. All hours here are his, or if you like, all unowned as this sky which refuses the dead. The graves belong to the names marked thereon. Resurrection or crucifixion, memory always has its choice how it shall decorate or consume. The eye at the time of mourning, I believe, had none. It is late. Autos and people are more numerous than sparrows. The old man stands up and regards his statues thoughtfully. The tarnished inscription, "It shall not be again." Perhaps he is glad it remains for this last war, too, for poets who may see something more than mockery here, or an old man dozing in the morning sun. Perhaps he is glad for nothing except the sun that warms him. Taking the early Post from his pocket, he walks to the square for his cure, a drink from the water fountain. The Town and the River by Robert of Orange. A hard-scrabble New England mill town with decaying factory buildings. That is one way to describe it, not original. But the newspaper reporter was in a hurry, passing through, and wanted a quick impression to hook the reader's attention and to show solidarity with the working poor. Who knows? The frisson of recognition might happen. Satisfied that he had caught the spirit of the place, if nothing else, he moved on to a more important story. What he did not see was the river, the way it sweeps into town with its burden of sky, cloud, sun, moon, stars, birch trees, factory buildings, fire station, and neon Michelob sign. Disappears under the bridge, emerges again, gathered and concentrated as it approaches the dam, and then leaps sparkling into the imagination where, years later, the observer can hear the thunder of roiled water. The river, its power undiminished, flows through dreams, daydreams, and memories until it finds its way to the ultimate sea. For as long as I can remember, I have stopped to look at birch trees growing along the river above and below the dam. When I was young and romantic, I thought of these trees as adolescent girls pursued by an insatiable god who, in the moment of ravishment, changed them into ecstatic but rooted forms and who, deathless and ageless, ardently moves among them on summer afternoons. Now that I am old and romantic, I summon from the past the memory of my youthful extravagance and exult in the excessive glory of white birch trees along the river. Some say the Scotch-Irish settled this town, but I say whoever came here looked back to the ancient Greeks and planted Doric columns in front of the big houses on West River Street, under the portico of the great mansion, in the recessed entrance to the library, and on the porches of lesser houses on almost every side street, to defy the encroaching formlessness, to resist the temptation to sprawl, to give in, and to forget. In a magnanimous gesture, a doctor imported marble from Italy and mounted Ionic columns and tablature and pediment over the entrance of his white two-story frame house in honor of Asclepius, son of Apollo, god of healing. Everywhere there is evidence the town remembers her soldiers. In Central Cemetery, a column rises to those who fell at Antietam, Chancellorsville, Fredericksburg, and Gettysburg. On the common, close to the river, the bronze figures of a soldier and schoolboy commemorate the war to end all wars. The motto on the base of the monument reads, "It shall not be again." Streets and crossroads bear the names of the 11 young men who did not return. On the honor roll in front of the library, the names of men and women appear alphabetically under World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Buildings in the center of town look toward the river, as if in expectation of some arrival, as if Cleopatra's barge might heave into view, purple sails unfurled to the sound of flutes and drums, or as if out of the Orient a new light might come to restore to its ancient state all that has been lost, worn out, and violated. Standing on the bridge at dawn and facing east, as the wind shifts and slides over the dark water, I have often imagined it is June 1914, that the world has not taken the road to the slaughterhouse of the Somme and Verdun, and that fire and sword, to use outmoded symbols, have not consumed and wasted the blood and treasure of nations. These are the tears in things. The barge, we know, will not come, and the past cannot be undone. The slow work of decay goes on. Dry rot gnaws the sills, paint peels, and broken windows, vandals' havoc, get boarded up. What is seen sees. The river looks up at us, takes in who we are, what we do, and in flowing on remains what it has always been: barrier, frontier, passage, provider of power, dreamer's mirror. To cross the bridge 2, 4, or 6 times a day is to reenact the great migrations. For rivers stand between today and tomorrow, who we are and what we will become. That we are ignorant of what we do changes nothing. We, who are never the same, cannot cross the same bridge twice. everything flows over and under the bridge, and the river ceaselessly whispers its secret name. Walt Whitman, how often have I wished that you could walk with me, that we would stroll together on South Main Street toward the river, that it would be July or August, that men in work clothes and women in summer dresses would wave to us, that we would come to the bridge at sunset and stand looking west beyond the dam, where water tumbles over rocks, turns white and shimmers, that the brick factory buildings would flaunt their fantastic shades of red, that you would sing to me in the voice of friend and guide, flow on, river, flow with the flood tide, and ebb with the ebb tide, frolic on, crested and scallop-edged waves, gorgeous clouds of the sunset, drench with your splendor me, or the men and women, generations after me. And that you and I, Walt Whitman, would stand alone on the bridge and wait for the night to come. The Foursquare Savings Bank faces south and waits for the sun. An architect's blind tribute to Picasso, Braque, and Mondrian. I have seen the midday sun transform this cube into a burst of gold so intense that I have had to shield my eyes from its reflected fire. Interest and credit? What are these compared to a moment in the sun? Do not be concerned about encouraging the useful, Goethe said. The useful encourages itself. Encourage beauty, even if it does not endure. I wish I had the skill of an old Flemish master to paint the young woman who, on a sultry summer afternoon, leaned against the public drinking fountain while she waited for the water to run cold. 20 centuries of Western art concentrated in her stance and vanished when she walked away. Sometimes at night, I wake to the throbbing of a freight train as it works up the long grade and sounds its whistle at Wendell Depot. The tracks parallel the river, the white water, and wide reaches where the windless surface is broken only by a snag or the prow of a sandbar. And sometimes, in that state between waking and sleep, long after the train has passed through town and the tunnel has filled with the darkest part of night, I become the river. And what I know in the depths are words, images, and metaphors born on the surface. Things that are and that are not. The moon and Cleopatra's barge. The birch trees and the shape-changing God. Time and nothing. It is then that I return to the river, what the river has given to me. The next morning, I drive to work across the bridge, over the river, past red brick factory buildings and the Peace Monument, and through the center of town.
Thank you so much, Marcia.
I have a question. Who has my portrait? What form?
We have a booklet of the programs up at the front desk. We have 10 fantastic finalists selected by our judges, Marcia Gagliardi, we just heard from, and Danielle Cudmore. first one in the program is actually Cathy Kramer. Her sister Sally is going to come read for her, but she cannot be here until 7:30. So we're going to skip that for just a little bit. And we'll start on the next poem in the booklet is How They Once Slept by Amy Gordon. If you'd care to come up and read it.
How They Once Slept. It was just a second ago, a biological blink of the eye, that every spring the shoals of salmon leapt up the river from the cold Atlantic, from rich feeding grounds off Greenland into Long Island Sound, and surged upstream, veered into sparkling tributaries of New England's rugged mountains, hurtling ever higher over falls, endured the droughts, spawned under summer leaves, held fast through winter, and in the great cycle of the seasons were swept back in spring flooding to the sea. We've always read the salmon's arduous journey as hero on a quest, the life force stripped of digression, the concentration of desire. And then we blocked the surge with dams, provided lifts and ladders, and the living was made easy, and the fish was served on plates, and the fish turned into coins, and the city lights winked on, and the rivers filled with poison, and the light-struck streams went dark.
Next we have Prayer for a Home Place by Gayle Thomas.
I've made my home in Massachusetts for 35 plus years, but this poem of the river and the place is where I was born in Pennsylvania. Prayer for a Home Place. O rivers who fed my roots, shad highways, loon waterbeds, conveyors of coal and factory sludge, bearers of kayaks and pesticides, connectors and dividers. Named by the Delaware, Onondaga, Lenni Lenape, renamed by the Germans, Dutch, English, Gowanawanagne, Gahunda, Susquehanna, Great Island River, Letchawecking, Lehigh, where there are forks, Manayunk, Schuylkill, where we go to drink, Lackawanna, stream that forks. O soil that held firm my roots, Pocono, a river between two mountains, Catasauqua, thirsty earth, Hackendaqua, searching for land, Copley, even running stream, Maxitani, bear path stream, Kittatinny, endless mountains. Forgive the builders of rails and interstates. Forgive the billboards, industrial parks, and subdivisions. Forgive the tired ghosts of miners, steel workers, and farmers. Forgive those of us who left without cleaning up our messes. Bless the First Nations and those who labor to bring back eagles and trout, to recover each strip of green, each creek and stream. May your old waters flow freely, your crops grow cleanly. May you offer sanctuary to all who hunger and thirst for home without dams, without walls.
Skip over Cathy's other poem for just a little bit. And look Hear from David Wyman with Evaporating Rivers.
My poem is called Evaporating Rivers. It's a climate change poem. The first part of it refers to the Nashua River. I grew up near the Nashua River in Leominster back in the days when it was really polluted. It used to smell like a sewer. There was different colors. There was paper pulp and everything coming down and all that. I always thought that I kind of missed out on a Huckleberry Finn childhood because of that, because you couldn't really actually interact with it. But there were people who worked to clean it up, and I'd met one of them one time when I was in college and I was writing part-time for the Fitchburg Sentinel, and I met somebody who had done that. And I'd always been trying to write about it, particularly the image of the river being on fire, because I just thought that was, this river's on fire. For this prompt, I actually did write the poem for the prompt, and I looked it up. There was a woman named Marion Stoddard who got it started, the Nashua River Watershed Association. And so I was starting to make the poem about that, about the idea of cleaning it up. And then over the summer, around the same time, I read an article in the New Yorker called Losing Earth, the Decade We Almost Stopped Climate Change. And I decided to change it and make it about how once, a long time ago, there was a will to do something to solve problems, and we lost that somewhere. The recent climate change report, unfortunately, is telling us that 2030 is the big year if we don't solve it by then, unfortunately. So that's kind of what it's about in here. So it's a depressing poem, I'm sorry. The image of the evaporating rivers, I got that from a PBS Nova thing I saw one time. They were showing the Colorado River, and it no longer actually goes to the ocean anymore. It just kind of stops in the desert because of the way they dammed it, because of evaporation, and because of the drought out in the west. So, evaporating rivers. A river like a series of echoing syllables, its greenish gray stench. A city of blank stares in a cause shaped as a media narrative. Back when it was legal to dump sewage and industrial waste into rivers and light them on fire. A pre-industrial vision turning sludge-filled flows, oxygen-starved, biologically dead, into clear waters full of fish, turtles, mink, otters, ospreys, increasing property values. A wild and scenic destination promoting the power to create change. We had become consumers of ecological miracles, planet healers. Now, in a time when the movement lacks a unifying cause, rivers are evaporating. Experts are predicting water wars, a future of scarcity. The world, this is your card here, but reversed, meaning an end to a cycle of life. Tectonic shifts. Lastly, an image of gasping fish flip-flopping in hot mud. Thank you.
Next we have Michael Ball with This River Accepts Offerings.
This river accepts offerings. Mighty and powerful and cruel rivers in Colorado and Rio Grande crush and swallow hikers, swimmers, rafters, and then simply churn and roil along. Not so the 400-mile Potomac. Gnarled like the Charles in Massachusetts, it graciously takes what we provide. A few of us insist upon drowning there. Ululating sirens can mean fire, wreck, or drowning, surely in that Potomac. Small town voyeurs hie to the fire station, to the country chalkboard of tragedy. Bodies, yes, and booze bottles tossed before parents can survey their good children's cars. And broken Fords disappeared off the bridge. The river took it all, takes it all still. The omnivorous, hungry Potomac, it remains the polite southern cousin of mighty and mean waters and canyons, and younger, ragged, and wilder mountains.
We have Sally Howe here to read for her sister Cathy Kramer Howe, and she has Twin Ports and Hungry Every Day.
Thank you. Good evening. These, as she said, are written by my sister, who lives in Phoenix and can't attend this evening, obviously, and has asked me to read for her. We have a multi-lifelong connection with Orange, going back several generations, so even though she lives in Phoenix, she feels that Orange is very much a part of her life and part of her heart, which is why she participates in this event. Twin Ports. One night in Duluth, we ate in a trendy smokehouse, an 1894 building whose owners once lived upstairs and sold haberdashery in Twin Ports. The streets, a teeming whirl of American industry, stripping woodlands to stubble, minerals from their blasted beds. Outside the bright tavern's door, Superior Street now felt fallen, muted, peeling. We picked our way through this commercial graveyard, wondering about the life it cost and what might root again in its cracks. When out of the shadows scurried an urban skunk, crisply groomed in ebony and pearl, his lavish tail at ease. Compact, intent, he scampered across the wide, dark street, hugged a wall opposite, and vanished up tree-clogged stairs. Without a sound, his message filled the night, trailed him like a scent. Let things be. Leave us alone. Give us their wreckage, and we will find, even here, a home. The other poem is called Hungry Every Day. Hungry every day to feed the silent places, to fill my whole chest like a bagpipe, and intone praises. One saving won't do it. 3 hours on holy day won't suffice. I'm hungry every day. And when I'm fed, I straighten, take a few more steps, tip my vessel out, and give a little more to the world.
Next we'll have The Basement by Penelope Sullivan.
The basement. It was late winter when iron-hard earth, coated with thick ice, greeted a balmy day with a deluge, a halo of eerie mist and trickling water into the basement, then a gushing out of unseen crevices, a river running through it, flood of feelings, heartbeat, sump, pump, thump, how to sump my own basement feelings. Now we have a curtain drain.
Next we'll have The Most Beautiful Ugly by Melissa Stevens.
the most beautiful ugly. I lay before you, nearly broken, limp on the sandy floor. Slowly browning tulips I left in the empty vase, overlooked and forgotten. It was ugly by definition, or so I believed. As black rivers gushed, gasping for each breath, the air left the room, replaced with keening cries and unpredictable current as I thrashed about. Your soft voice traveled miles and years. You're okay, it reassures in truth. The waves receded, the air returned. I took shaky breaths until exhaustion took over. That's good, you assured. Looking up at you, I see the truth, which you knew from the start. This journey would be the most beautiful ugly, until, like the swift river, it would inevitably change.
Thank you. The next poem will be 3 Seconds by Josh Lefkowitz. Josh not read it? Well, then I will read it for you. 3 seconds. The day is nearing its end. You hop on your bike and hightail it towards and across the Williamsburg Bridge, city steel catching the magic hour light to make you feel a little invisible, a little invincible. Now a young man pedals past. His name, age, relationship status, an unknown blur in quick 3 seconds time. Did his eyes lock with yours? Too fast to say. You'll each go your own way. Isn't that how it happened before, though? A look across the bar, a partner eager and willing to move in body close quarters at the club. You didn't know back then how all would unfold and go. Of course, if given the chance, you'd leap into love again. On this we have authorial authority from Billy Shakes himself. Better to have blah, blah, blah. Still, moving, as you are now in opposite directions for a moment, it's enough. No hurt, no pain. The tiny mouse in your heart is squeaking its song of longing, and there's pleasure to be found in just such sentiments. It's so hard to remember this, how unimaginable oceans of time bookend the handful of pebbled seconds you get to even be at all. On a bike, on a bridge, pedaling faster towards what you know, that's Williamsburg, and what you don't, that's tomorrow. Any applause on behalf of Josh. Next we have Wind's Interpreter by Gretchen Honey.
Come with me, sings Wind, as the leaves delicately chime beneath his breath. I can show you indescribable beauty and places not yet dreamed of, he boasts. Wind gently jostles the leaves again, which clap their applause at his suggestion. An adventure lies ahead at every spin and twirl, he promises. A number of small leaves let go their hold and scatter, then more give chase, emboldened by the first. Wind blows more keenly now, drawing reluctant leaves along his course. Leaves clatter to the ground, in disarray, abandoned by wind's deceit and trickery, as wind slips away.
Those were the 10 finalists chosen by our judges, and we have one more that was just too good to pass over as an honorable mention, and that's River Race by Victoria Cudmore.
Yeah. Thank you. So, if you've ever done the River Rat Race, you'll recognize the places in the poem. If you haven't done it, please do it. You don't even have to be in a canoe more than once in your life to do it. But anyway, this is for Barry, who's my fiance, and who encouraged, when I said, let's go watch the race, he said, we have a canoe, let's go do it. So 7 runs later, it's a great experience anyway.
Starting position on the bank, the river runs high, whirls and swirls. We are number 102, mixed aluminum. Number 101, recreational, first time in a canoe giddy to our left. Number 103, sleek Kevlar professional to our right. The cannon, 300 sprint into the river. The water roils and sparkles. Number 101, swamps, gunnels beneath the water and still paddling. Number 103, already beyond the bridge and moving out of sight. Train bridge, mighty timbers, black tar and pigeons. The smooth water sweeps and glides around piles. We dig deep, read the current, watch for snags, rocks, sandbars. Past Vikings, river rats, pirates, and grandmothers. There's plenty of river for all of us. Indian meadows, mist rising in the April sun, we feel the ancient ones watching in amazement from the bank. Old Town, Grumman, Kevlar, wood strip, plastic, and aluminum. Birch bark canoes rise from the river and disappear like stoneflies. The river embraces the mystery of its past. Great Bend, three-sided outhouse and beers flying and floating. Zigzag to pluck a bobbing can from black water. I hold it high at the partiers' cheers as your powerful solo stroke moves us onward. The river is flat and silent in its inexplicable meander. Home stretch, wind shifting from the west. The river rises in whitecaps and birch trees bow and dance. Factories, fire station, and buildings look to the river and wait for us. And there is the finish line and the bridge just beyond that my family has crossed for 100 years. We know the river, and the river knows us. The water folds us into its memory before it vanishes over the falls and finds its way home to the sea.
Now I get to announce our winners. Third place for the poem Prayer for a Home Place is Gayle Thomas. In second place for the poem How They Once Leaped is Amy Gordon. And in first place for the poem Twin Ports is Cathy Kramer Howe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. We have a wonderful table of snacks. Please go eat all of the snacks because we have a lot of Halloween candy to put out tomorrow and we don't need leftover cookies. And feel free to wander around the library. We have a bunch of great programs up at the desk if you're interested in checking out other events we're going to have. Thank you. Thank you, Jay.